Hey, what's up, guys? Tougie here, back again. And hey, look at this. We got something to talk about hockey related rather than debating when RFAs are going to sign or the outrageous NHL Network top 20 lists, which are outrageous every year. They're outrageous on purpose to get people to talk because there's nothing else to talk about. Colin White signed in Ottawa. Cool. Good contract. I can't talk about that for more than 2 minutes. Let's be honest. But this... boy, this is something you can sink your teeth into. Evgeny Kuznetsov. Evgeny Kuznetsov has been suspended by the IIHF for cocaine usage. For 4 years! Four! For cocaine. It is probably the most outrageous suspension I've seen in sports since Nick Diaz was suspended for life for pot. There's a greater issue that I want to get into a little bit when it comes to, just recreational drug use in hockey and then getting over to the performance-enhancing usage in hockey. And this kind of screams to it. Now, again, Kuznetsov has been suspended until June 12th of 2023. I personally can't imagine this holding up. There's no way it's going to be a full 4-year suspension. On the NHL side of things... he's not being suspended. They're putting him into the whole drug program and everything to try and prevent this from happening again, which is the smart way to handle it. But if this suspension were to hold, aside from obviously missing out on future world championships, he wouldn't be allowed to go to Russia in case of a lockout, nor would he be allowed to play in the Olympics if that happens, and it ultimately will, that the NHL will be back with the Olympics. It's super weird, just in general, that this has happened. Because the IIHF doesn't really have a strong history of suspensions over the past decade, and for basically everything, it's been for, in-game play. Anthony Mantha was suspended, Justin Abdelkader was suspended at one point, there is an instance of 2 Ukrainians apparently match-fixing, so that's interesting. And then, of course, you had the Swedish World Junior controversy in 2018, mainly with Elias Anderson. And you've had other people suspended as well, mainly for in-game stuff. Calvin Thurkauf, Matthias Bo Hansen was suspended, as well as a result of in-game play. This doesn't happen. And it's an extreme rarity in the NHL as well. We've had Nate Schmidt, who was suspended for violating the program. 2017-18 didn't see anybody suspended for it. 16-17, Jared Tenorti, that was his second suspension. He was actually suspended the year before. And 2015-16, we actually saw a couple of suspensions. Zach Kassian, Sean Horkoff, and of course Jared Tenorti's first suspension. Now, look, you can make an argument over baseball and how they handle things, the NBA, the NFL, and how they handle recreational drug use and performance-enhancing use. But the fact that this is the first suspension in a decade, at least the past decade, from the IIHF for recreational drug use, you mean to tell me Evgeny Kuznetsov is the first guy to fail a drug test in the past 10 years? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. And in the NHL in general, I'm not buying it that we've only had a handful of players get busted for either recreational drugs or performance-enhancing drugs in the past 5 year. I'm not buying it. That's the main takeaway from this, aside from the fact that I don't think Kuznetsov will serve the full 4-year suspension. It just, to me, speaks to the greater issue of how hockey handles instances like this when it comes to drugs and performance enhancers. I don't think it's an instance of, the NFL, it's a culture difference, or it's just the sports are larger. I wonder if this is going to be more commonplace, because again, you can't convince me that Evgeny Kuznetsov is the first player to ever play in a IIHF regulated game over the past decade who has, used cocaine. Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell. And in the NHL in general, I'm sorry, I don't buy that Jared Tenorti and Sean Horkoff are one of just the few who were dumb enough to try and get by this. I just don't buy that. So that is, as far as the place of, how hockey conducts itself, testing, what they test for, who they test, that's a much larger topic of discussion that I don't want to get into today more than we already have, but it is the main thing that comes to mind here. Again, aside from the fact that there's no way it's going to last 4 years. That is an outrageous number, but very interesting. I mean, we knew something was going to come down as a result of the video in Vegas with the cocaine just clearly right there, but 4 years. I mean, who knows? Maybe he is the only one and they're trying to make an example out of him, but again, I'm not buying it. Let me know what you think. I mean, in terms of hockey, are people within hockey just absolute saints? There's no drug usage, recreational or performance enhancing. Let me know, especially too within the IIHF. Let me know as well whether or not you think Kuznetsov's going to serve the full 4 years. There's no fucking way. 4 years for coke. God damn.